Good morning, Shalom. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Sister Kate, and we think and talk a lot about preparedness, obviously, in our household. And some of it comes from experience, well, a lot of it, but there's also theory involved. And when you live this way, when you live as primitively as we do, you see things. You see things that other people theorize about, other people give advice about, and you can tell they are not living it. And so when we put our information out, our information is coming from years of experience, years of study, years of theorizing with each other, and seeing how preparedness affects daily life or emergency situations. And so the 10 things you will give up came from that, because I like to flip things on their head. And then Pastor said you should do 10 things you will want to have in a SHTF kind of situation. And of course there are tons and tons of videos out now about what people recommend other people to have should an emergency happen. And you can get it from the not first aid, from first responder websites and FEMA websites and Red Cross websites, and there's so many different preppers now, you know, with every kind of prepper name in the book. It just exploded on YouTube when Katrina happened, and then the concurrent emergencies that have happened in our country, like the California wildfires, and recently the tornado, the hurricane that went through Florida and into Georgia. And I have a video on that too. It's just small. I didn't go down there and interview people and whatnot. I drove through the area, and then I made some comments about that. And so I have my list of 10 things you would want to have in at least a regional emergency, like an ice storm or a mudslide or something, all the way up to a life-changing event. I like that LCE. I don't know who came up with that, but that's a pretty good way of saying it too, because emergencies come in all shapes and sizes, and so you want to think about all of this when you think about preparing. And so here's my list of things that I thought you would want to have. And number one is a plan. If an emergency happens, let's just say tomorrow here in this area, there's a huge forest fire. Pastor and I have already discussed, have already packed, have already prepared things we would grab if we had to leave. And we are fully aware that in some emergencies you don't stay. You cannot stay. And I've already explained in other videos about fire. You can't. You would be very, very exceptional and lucky if a huge fire ripped through your area and your house didn't get burned down. Let me just put it that way. The way to think about it is it's going to happen, and so to deal with it that way. And we are fully prepared to leave. And we have places that we already know we're going, and we've been there before, and so on. So having a plan in an emergency means you can step out, you can have a direction. Because part of the OODA loop and part of emergencies is that time when you are trying to get your brain to understand, hey, something serious is happening and I have to act, I have to move, and the deer in the headlights, or the rabbit thing is just to sit there and be stewing and afraid of what's going on and unable to comprehend it. And so you don't want to be there. So if you have a plan, you just skip right over that part. You don't need to waste time in that part of your brain thinking and in the decision cycle. And the plan should cover everything. It should cover where you're going, how you're going to get there, what are you going to take with you, what are you going to do when you get there, if you have to stay there for a while, etc., etc. So just, yeah, have that plan. That's number one for me. Number two, you want to think about your own security. You want to think about your own person and how your safety may be endangered, and then be ready to defend yourself. And so for a woman of my age, the biggest equalizer is a firearm. And so you need to own a firearm, know how to use it, have used it, have practice with it, and also know the laws in your state and other states you're going to be traveling to, and be prepared to get into the legal system, because in an emergency, sometimes people do crazy things. And if the emergency is not nationwide, it's only regional, the laws don't disappear. Like in Katrina, people who went looting, that is illegal. Okay? You can be arrested for that and jailed for theft. So if you have to defend yourself, you have to think to yourself, you know, the laws will still apply if I'm just going from my county to the next county. I can't just shoot everybody I see on the road because I thought they were a threat, if that makes sense. You need to understand fully your responsibility and to still be able to carry that out even as you are fleeing an emergency, if that makes sense. But I do think your security and your safety is important, so that should be part of your SHTF kit. All right, number 3, I have health and the ability to move. You have to be healthy enough to move. You cannot be someone who is immobilized, stuck to your couch because you're 600 pounds and you haven't moved, and you know your cells have melded with the couch, because there have been stories about people like that. That will not do you any good in an emergency like a fire. If you are unable to move, you either have to have people that you are now endangering who are committed and able to help you move. And I'm picturing again a 600-pound person in a bed. It's going to take what, 6-7 people to get you up out of the bed and then put you in something like a van or a truck and then move you. That's not a very good way to be. I'm not saying there are people like that. I'm saying you don't want to be one of them. So part of your plan, part of your preparations for emergencies is to be fit enough to move. And you know, there's tons of fitness videos out there, and tons of, you know, my husband has made them on just, you know, start your workout and start small and get bigger and get stronger. And CrossFit is a wonderful way to do that, to be fit. We have planned our lifestyle to help us keep fit. That was an intentional decision on our part, and it can be part of your decision making too. You can change your behavior and change how you live by simply thinking you're going to do it and then start doing it. So that, oh, well, I never have and I don't want to and it's not fun and whatever, doesn't count. If you decide you want to get fitter, you can then start getting fitter. That's how it is. Okay, so number 4 is shelter. And to plan for shelter, you kind of have to know if you're going to, if this is a I have to go somewhere or I can stay kind of situation. And then shelter can be anything from, you know, a tarp, a tent. You can build shelter from, you know, bits of OSB and cardboard. And the key thing about shelter is to get you out of the weather and to help you retain your body heat if it's cold, or if it's really hot, to get you out of the sun. And again, to keep your body temp around 98.6 so you don't get too hot. So I'm not going to go really, really far into shelter just because it's kind of self-explanatory. And it can be as much as I'm going all the way to the other side of the country and I'm staying in my brother's, has an apartment over his garage, and that's where I'm ultimately going to end up. But you do want to think about shelter and whether your travel is going to require you to be out of the weather. And it can be your car too. So shelter. Next one is your everyday carry. You will want to have an everyday carry in an emergency, because your everyday carry can have those really useful things in it that, if you have them, will make the difference in your comfort level in the emergency. And some of those things, and then there's a million websites on it, so do your own research, come up with your own list. These are just some suggestions. Matches, twine, a knife, fish hooks, meds. If you have to take meds, maybe you have, a week's worth of meds already in your everyday carry. A water filter, because if you're having to travel water, you may not be able to get to fresh, clean water, and you may need the filter. And an energy bar, just because you're not going to be stopping at McDonald's, and you may need that. But everyday carry it's kind of like the icing on top of the cake, I guess. Number 6 is good footwear. Oh yeah, you need that good footwear because it makes a huge difference. Because we live off grid, we deal with weather of all types, and just today it's wet and cold, and I have the footwear that I wear when it's wet and cold, and they have to be comfortable, because if you're walking a long way, believe me, I've run a marathon before. It makes a difference if you have blisters while you're doing that 26 miles or 10 miles or 100 miles. It makes a difference if your feet suddenly become very painful. So good footwear makes just a world of difference, and you're going to want to think about what you're doing, where you're going, and plan accordingly. Good sturdy boots, boy, they can go a very long way. And they're worth it. They're worth the $150, $200 you pay for them. Number 7 is a bob. And it was kind of obvious. Some people might put bob first. But even having a bob, if you don't have a plan, you have some things, but you need the complete package. So a bob is for that 3-day. I'm traveling, I'm in motion. What are the things that are going to help me? And pain relievers is going to be a huge one, because if you're walking, like I said, and you're not in your best footwear and your feet hurt, you want something to help take care of that. And there's a million videos on bobs. I have a video on my bob. Pastor has one on bobs and cheap bobs and everything else. But bobs should have those things that can get you for the next 3 days. So a little bit of food, some water, some light, some clothing. What else do we have in ours? I think we have like a trash bag for rain gear, and a very light sleeping bag, and so on. But a bob, especially if you're not going to be able to use your vehicle. If you have your vehicle, then you can have your vehicle just packed with all sorts of things that you can take, including a bob. But if you can't do your vehicle and you're going to have to hump it, the bob saves you time, money, all sorts of things. Number 8 is faith. Having Yahweh on your side, He's the creator of the universe. He's the one who laid down all the rules for the world you live in. Having Him on your side when there's a life or death emergency situation with chaos going all around you, His order allows you to be able to see what your behavior ought to be. No matter what is swirling and chaotic around you, you have that guideline, and you know what direction you're going to be going in with the faith. And He will sustain you. You can pray to Him. He often prepares a way for you, and He also vanquishes your foes before you even get there. So I like that. I mean, a cell phone is really great. Google is, very helpful, but Yahweh is He is the one. So faith is on my list, and so is skills. So let's say you're in your office and you can't get to your car for whatever reason, but you have your everyday carry, and now you have to go home. And you get injured along the way. Let's just say you get a cut or something. You have to have the skills to deal with that cut as part of your getting away. Same thing with your security. Your everyday carry also has your firearm in it. And you are going through a part of a city where you could be attacked. If you've never used your firearm, it is not going to do you any good in that situation, and will probably be taken from you by those people who want to accost you when they see you don't know what you're doing with it. A firearm is not a magic wand. It is a tool, and you need to know how to use a tool, just like you need to know how to use a jack to jack your car up, or a saw to cut wood with. So your skills should be something you've been working on for a while, and continue to plan on working on. Yeah, I didn't phrase that very well. Sorry. Your skills is something you should already have, and you can work on them by reading, by researching. Boy Scout handbooks, badge books have a lot of information. There's outdoor, skill guides, and my husband's book on survival. All of those things can help you get your skills where you need them to be when you are overwhelmed by these emergencies and need to be doing things like navigating, like your fitness level. You've been walking, you've been training, so when you start walking, it's not something strange and new to you. And you have the kind of nutrition you want in your everyday carry. Like I said, an energy bar, and what you want in that energy bar, because there's a lot of different kinds of those. If you have a knife in there that you already have used your knife, and you know what you want to use it for, maybe you have a set of wire trimmers in there so you can cut through fences because you think you're going to have to go cross country. The skills allow you to use the tools, and without them, the tools will not do you any good. Hang on a minute. Sorry about that. All right, and number 10 is really important too. It's determination. You have to have the will to survive. You have to have the end goal in mind and be dedicated to it. Because when times get tough, and my husband talks about this, the mindset of a winner versus the mindset of a quitter. If you've already pre-decided certain things that are going to make you quit, you're going to quit. If you have already decided nothing that you encounter can make you quit, you won't quit. And so your determination to make your plan work, to survive, to avoid injury, to come out of the emergency with all your faculties, not having committed some sort of felony on the way, and also, in all your limbs intact, and possibly even helping other people along the way as you do your plan and your escape. All of that can just fall by the wayside if you are not mentally strong enough to make it happen. So make it happen. Be consciously deciding the whole time, it's going to work, I'm going to make it, because there's a whole set of videos online called I Shouldn't Have Survived, about people who get into emergency situations and their grit and their gutsiness and the things that they're willing to do in order to survive is just awe-inspiring, and will help you have that mental determination to get through the emergency. And I'll tell you right now, it's not I've got to put on makeup before I leave and then the fire overwhelms you. It is something bad has happened. I've got my stuff that I need and I'm heading out right now. That's the kind of thinking that's going to get you through something like that. So determination is number 10. I guess I can go through the list one more time. Just to reiterate it. 1, a plan. 2, some sort of defense and security. 3, your health. 4, shelter. 5, everyday carry. 6, good footwear. 7, your bob. 8, faith. 9, skills. And 10, determination. If you don't have these now, get working on them. You've got time to do that. I hope this has uplifted someone. Bless you. Shalom.